The Galactic Council Hall was a place of order and peace, or so they claimed. It stood in the heart of the universe, a massive floating structure surrounded by endless stars. Inside, towering aliens of all kinds filled the grand chamber, their voices calm, their expressions unreadable. And in the center of it all stood Ambassador Real, the proud representative of Earth. He had come with a message of unity. He had come with trust. Humanity is honored to join the Galactic Council. Ryle spoke with confidence. We wish for friendship and cooperation. Let us build a future together. Many in the chamber nodded in agreement. Some species saw potential in humans. Their rapid progress, creativity, and adaptability made them an interesting addition to the galactic stage. But others saw something else. A threat. The Council had seen species rise before, but never this fast. In just a few centuries, humans had gone from primitive tools to deep space travel, while others took thousands of years to master spaceflight. Humanity had done it in mere generations, and that was dangerous. So, behind closed doors, a secret decision was made. A council fleet, acting in the name of security, was sent to Earth's solar system. They did not come to negotiate. They did not come to discuss. They came to destroy. The official story was simple. A rogue pirate force had attacked Earth, and the Council had been unable to respond in time. It was a tragedy, a terrible loss. The truth, however, was far worse. The day everything changed. On a quiet evening, the sky above Earth burned. Without warning, massive ships appeared from the darkness of space. They were sleek and powerful, armed with weapons never seen before. In seconds, satellites were torn apart, space stations shattered, and orbital defenses silenced. Cities on Earth had no chance to prepare. Energy blasts rained down, shaking the ground, turning buildings to rubble. The world that had taken generations to build was reduced to smoke and ashes in mere hours. Millions perished, and then, as quickly as they had come, the attackers vanished. The news spread fast. On Mars, on Luna, in the deep space colonies, humans everywhere watched in horror. Their home, their heart was broken. But before sorrow could fully take hold, another emotion rose from the depths of humanity. Not fear, not submission, but something far stronger. The galaxy underestimates humanity. The Council thought Earth was finished. They believed humanity would beg for help, accept any terms, become dependent on them. After all, that's what had happened to other species before. Civilizations that suffered such losses never recovered. They either fell apart or were absorbed by the Council. But humans were not like the others. Earth had been wounded, but humanity was still alive. Across the solar system, people gathered. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, leaders, all united with a single purpose. The Council had made one mistake. They had left survivors. In hidden bunkers beneath Earth's ruined cities, in secret space stations drifting among the stars, a quiet war began. Plans were drawn. Technology was pushed to new limits. Resources were gathered in silence. A message to the stars. For years, humanity said nothing. They followed the Council's rules. They played the role of the broken victim. The Council believed they had won, that humanity was weak. Then, one day, a message was sent across the galaxy. It was simple. We are still here. It was not a plea. It was not a request. It was a warning. The Galactic Council did not understand it at first. They did not realize that, while they had been enjoying their victory, humanity had been working, evolving, preparing. The stars had watched Earth burn. Now they would watch what happened next. The Galactic Council believed Earth was gone. They thought humanity would never recover. But they were wrong. Far from the eyes of the Council, in the cold darkness of space, humanity was rebuilding. Not in the open, not with loud declarations, but in silence, in the hidden corners of the solar system. They did not cry for help. They did not seek pity. Instead, they prepared. The hidden survivors. When Earth fell, not all humans were on the planet. Many were in space, working in stations, mining asteroids, or living on colonies. The destruction of Earth was a deep wound, but it was not the end. In the underground bunkers beneath the shattered cities, survivors gathered. On Mars, scientists and engineers worked day and night. In the asteroid belt, miners and traders formed secret alliances. On Titan, the frozen moon of Saturn, hidden shipyards came to life. Humanity had always been known for one thing: adapting to impossible situations. And now, they had no choice but to prove it again. A different kind of war. The Council expected humans to attack with what little they had left. They expected desperate fleets, reckless battles, and foolish revenge. But humanity had learned from history. They had seen great empires fall, not because of massive battles, but because of slow, careful strikes. This would not be a war of strength. This would be a war of patience. They started small. Council supply routes began experiencing mysterious failures. Ships disappeared, lost in deep space with no sign of battle. Communication systems across the Council's territory suffered strange malfunctions. At first, the Council blamed pirates. Then they thought it was a technical failure. But as time passed, the incidents grew more frequent. Cargo ships carrying weapons vanished without a trace. Military bases found their power grids failing at critical moments. Important leaders received messages that made their blood run cold. We are still here. New weapons, new strategies. While the Council lived in comfort, humanity worked harder than ever before. In the secret factories of Mars, they built ships unlike anything the Council had seen. These were not massive, flashy warships. They were small, fast, and nearly invisible to scanners. They moved like shadows, striking and disappearing before the enemy could react. The scientists who once built technology for peace now used their knowledge for survival. Weapons were no longer just tools of destruction, but tools of control. EMP devices shut down entire space stations without firing a single shot. Hacking systems took over enemy drones, turning their own machines against them. The Council had ruled with strength. Humanity would win with intelligence. The Council's confusion. At first, the Galactic Council did not believe humanity was responsible. The idea was laughable. Humans, the weak ones, they are not capable of such things, the leaders said. But doubt started creeping into their minds. Reports from the edges of the galaxy told strange stories. Ships going missing, stations losing contact, entire fleets struggling with technical failures. The Council sent investigators. They found nothing. No evidence of battles, no wreckage, no clear enemy. It was as if space itself had turned against them. And then, one day, something happened that changed everything. The first strike. On the distant planet of Velka 4, the Council had a research station. It was heavily guarded, filled with advanced technology. No one had ever breached a Council base before. But one morning, the station simply went silent. When the Council sent ships to investigate, they found the base intact, its security systems untouched. But every file, every piece of data, every secret weapon project was gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken doors, no damaged computers. It was as if the information had vanished into thin air. And on the main screen of the control room, a message appeared in large, bold letters. You started this. We will finish it. For the first time, the Galactic Council felt something they had never felt before. Fear, a growing shadow. The universe was vast, and the Council had many enemies. But none had ever fought like this. None had ever waged war without firing a single shot. And yet, slowly, the balance of power was shifting. Whispers spread across the galaxy. Some alien species, once loyal to the Council, began to question their rule. If humans could survive an attack meant to destroy them, what else were they capable of? Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of space, hidden from all eyes, humanity continued its work. The new generation of soldiers, engineers, and leaders did not dream of revenge. They dreamed of something far greater. Not just survival, not just payback, but a future where no one would ever threaten humanity again. The Galactic Council still did not understand. They saw the strange malfunctions, the missing ships, the silent research stations, but they refused to believe humanity was responsible. To them, humans were a broken race, struggling to survive. But behind the scenes, humanity was stronger than ever. They had no homeworld, no official armies, no fleets flying under a proud banner. But in the shadows of space, among asteroids and hidden moons, a new kind of war had begun. A war fought with patience, intelligence, and precision. This was not the war the Council expected. This was the unseen war. The silent strikes begin. It started with small things. On a distant mining world under Council control, the robotic drills stopped working. Engineers found their programming had been rewritten. Instead of mining valuable metals, they dug deep holes in random directions, wasting time and resources. On a military supply station, fuel reserves disappeared overnight. There were no explosions, no signs of theft, just empty tanks where thousands of tons of fuel should have been. Across the galaxy, more and more of these strange incidents occurred. Ships lost navigation control and found themselves drifting into asteroid fields. Communication satellites broadcasted false messages, leading Council fleets into empty space. Supply chains slowed, planets struggled, and the Council's leaders became frustrated. They searched for an enemy they could not see. The Council's growing fear. At first, the Council assumed it was sabotage from rebellious alien factions. They sent investigation teams to the affected locations, but the more they searched, the less they found. Every system, every security measure, every locked door had been bypassed with precision. No alarms had been triggered. No bodies had been found. There was no wreckage, no evidence of battles. The Council could not even confirm if anyone had been inside their bases, but something had been there. Then, the first message appeared. On the bridge of a Council warship, the captain stood frozen as the main screen flickered. The ship's security systems had not detected a breach, yet a message appeared before their eyes. "We are watching." The ship's power cut off for exactly 1 minute. When it returned, nothing was damaged, but the message was gone. The Council's desperation. Fear spread like wildfire. The Council increased security on all important locations. They placed more guards, locked down stations, doubled patrols. Yet the attacks continued. A massive weapons factory lost its entire database overnight. When the Council checked security footage, they found nothing. The doors never opened. The lights never flickered. It was as if the information had vanished on its own. Then the unthinkable happened. A Council warship, one of the most powerful in the fleet, was found abandoned in deep space. Its engines were cold. Its weapons were intact. But its crew was missing. No signs of struggle. No distress calls. No bodies. Just one simple message written across the ship's command console. "You started this." Humanity's hidden edge. The truth was simple. Humans had adapted. They knew they could not win a direct war. The Council had more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. But humanity had something far greater, the ability to learn, to evolve, to change. Instead of fighting with brute force, they fought with intelligence. Instead of meeting fleets in open battle, they struck from the shadows. Instead of destroying bases, they took control from within. In secret underground labs on Mars, engineers had designed a new kind of technology: stealth infiltration suits, AI-driven hacking drones, and quantum signal disruptors. These tools allowed small teams of humans to enter and leave even the most secure locations without being detected. Where other species relied on tradition, humans rewrote the rules of war. The universe begins to notice. Other alien races had been watching from the sidelines, unsure of what to believe. They had seen Earth burn, had heard the Council's claim that pirates were responsible. But now, they were starting to see the truth. Whispers spread through the stars. "Did you hear? The humans are still fighting." Impossible. They have no fleets, no armies. Then why are Council ships disappearing? Doubt crept into the minds of the galaxy's inhabitants. Many species had suffered under the Council's rule, but had never dared to resist. Now, they saw the impossible happening. If humanity, a species nearly wiped out, could fight back, then maybe others could too. The first sign of change. One day, in a distant Council-controlled system, a new message appeared, not from humans, but from an alien colony under Council rule. They sent a broadcast to the stars, 3 simple words that shook the foundation of the galaxy. "We are rising." The Council dismissed it as nonsense. A single rebellious colony was no threat. But they failed to see the bigger picture. It was no longer just about humanity. It was about something far greater, an idea. An idea that no empire, no fleet, no amount of power could ever erase. Humanity's plan moves forward. Deep in the cold reaches of space, hidden inside an asteroid field, a group of human leaders gathered in a secret base. Captain Ryle stood before them, looking at the star map. It was filled with red markings, places where the Council had been hit, places where systems were now unstable. He turned to his team and spoke the words that would define the future. "The Council still thinks we are weak. They still think they control everything. But they are wrong. We have made them afraid. Now, it is time to do something more. Now, we make them powerless." A new phase of the war was beginning. Humanity was not just fighting to survive anymore. They were fighting to change the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They had faced rebellions, rival empires, and internal conflicts. But they had never faced something like this. They were at war with an enemy they could not see. And for the first time in their history, they were afraid. The Council's desperation. Inside the Grand Hall of the Council, the most powerful leaders of the galaxy gathered. Their expressions were grim, their voices sharp with frustration. The Supreme Chancellor, a towering alien with silver skin, slammed his hand on the table. "This must end," he roared. "Enough of these ghost attacks. We must find the humans and destroy them before they bring chaos to the entire galaxy." The room was filled with murmurs. They had tried. They had sent fleets to hunt down the survivors, but the fleets never returned. They had increased security, but their bases kept getting infiltrated. They had doubled their patrols, but their ships continued to vanish. Nothing was working. Perhaps, one of the generals said cautiously, "We should open negotiations with the humans." The room fell silent. The Chancellor's expression darkened. "Negotiate? With a species that refuses to show themselves? With an enemy that humiliates us at every turn?" The others shifted uncomfortably. The truth was clear. The humans had turned the Council's own power against them, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. A galaxy in chaos. The Council's problems were growing. It was not just the humans anymore. Other species were watching, waiting, and some had already started to resist. On the planet, Jorva 6, a once loyal mining colony, declared independence, inspired by the humans. Council forces were sent to crush the rebellion. But before they arrived, their entire fleet's navigation system failed. They drifted helplessly into deep space, where they were picked off one by one. On the trade world of Sylar, an entire shipment of Council weapons disappeared. The Council assumed it was stolen by humans, until they intercepted a message from an unknown alien faction. "If the humans can fight back, so can we." One by one, small acts of defiance spread across the stars. It was as if the galaxy itself had been waiting for this moment, waiting for someone to challenge the Council's rule. And now, that moment had come. A shocking revelation. The breaking point came when the Council's high command received a message from one of their top admirals. It was a distress call. "This is Admiral Kesh of the 7th Fleet. "We are under attack. We." The signal cut off. The Seventh Fleet was one of the most powerful armadas in the galaxy. Hundreds of warships, millions of soldiers, and they had vanished without a trace. The Council scrambled to respond. They searched the area where the fleet had last been seen, scanning for any sign of battle. But there was nothing. No debris, no wreckage, no distress beacons. It was as if the fleet had simply ceased to exist. And then hours later, a new message appeared on every Council-controlled broadcast across the galaxy. A simple message. Your fleets cannot protect you. Your rule is ending. Surrender now, or watch your empire crumble. There was no name, no signature, but the Council knew exactly who had sent it. The humans. The Council's greatest fear comes true. Panic spread across the galaxy. For centuries, the Council had ruled with strength and fear, but now they were the ones who were afraid. Merchants refused to transport goods, afraid their ships would disappear. Soldiers questioned their orders, knowing their fleets could be erased at any moment. Even the citizens of the Council's core worlds whispered among themselves, if the humans can defeat entire fleets without a battle, then who really holds the power? For the first time, the Council was losing control. The Chancellor called an emergency meeting. "We must act now," he declared. "If we wait, humanity will grow stronger. We must strike before it is too late." The others looked at each other, hesitation in their eyes. "It is already too late," one of them whispered. The Chancellor's fists clenched. "No, there is one option left." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what he meant. For centuries, the Council had kept a list of planets, ships, and bases too dangerous to let exist. They had never needed to use it before. But now, humanity had forced their hand. "We will erase them," the Chancellor said coldly. "All of them. Every last one." A plan doomed to fail. The Council sent out their final desperate order: total elimination of humanity. They tracked every last known human base. They prepared massive fleets to wipe them out. They launched a coordinated attack across the galaxy, determined to end the human threat once and for all. But they had forgotten one thing. Humanity was always 10 steps ahead. As the Council fleets arrived at their targets, they found nothing. The bases were abandoned. The stations were empty. The secret outposts were already gone. And then, as the Council forces stood in confusion, the real attack began. The power grids of the fleet's flagships shut down. The targeting systems of their weapons turned against them. Their engines refused to work. Their communication channels were flooded with one final message: "This is your last chance. Surrender or be left in the dark forever." The beginning of the end. The Galactic Council had believed it was invincible. They had ruled the stars for generations, unchallenged. But now, as their own fleets failed and their own people questioned their rule, they saw the truth. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had won. The Chancellor stared at the blank screen before him, his hands shaking. "How did this happen?" he whispered. No one had an answer. The Council was no longer the most powerful force in the galaxy. The balance of power had shifted, and humanity was in control now. The Galactic Council was in chaos. For the first time in history, they were powerless. Their fleets were failing, their systems were collapsing, and their people were losing faith. Humanity, the species they thought was weak, had turned the entire galaxy against them. And now, the Council's greatest fear had come true. They were no longer in control. The Council's last hope. The Supreme Chancellor stood in the center of the Grand Hall, his expression grim. The other Council members sat around him, silent and afraid. "We cannot allow this to continue," the Chancellor said, his voice heavy. "If we do nothing, the humans will destroy everything we built." A general, his face pale, hesitated before speaking. "Sir, we do not even know where they are." That was the problem. Humanity had vanished from the maps. Their bases were ghosts, their fleets were shadows, and their attacks were unstoppable. Every attempt to strike back had failed. Every strategy had been outplayed. The council had one final chance to negotiate. It was a bitter choice. The council had never negotiated from a position of weakness before, but now they had no other options. The message to humanity. The council sent a signal into the void, broadcasting across all known frequencies. It was simple. We request peace talks. Name your terms. For hours, there was no response. Then a single reply came. We will speak, but only once. Listen carefully. A location was sent, a dead system, far from any trade routes, with nothing but a cold, lifeless planet at its center. The council hesitated. Was it a trap? A trick? But they had no choice. The meeting on the dead world. The council's delegation arrived in a single warship, surrounded by an escort fleet. They landed on the barren surface of the planet, where they saw them. The humans. Not an army, not a fleet, just three figures standing alone. One of them stepped forward, a man with sharp eyes and a calm expression. He was unarmed, unarmored, and yet his presence felt stronger than an entire fleet. The Chancellor stepped forward. Are you the leader of the humans? The man shook his head. There is no single leader. We stand together. That is why we win. The Chancellor's hands clenched. Then tell us, what do you want? The man's gaze was steady. We want what you took from us. Freedom. The terms of surrender. The council had expected a list of demands. Resources, planets, technology. But humanity asked for none of those things. Instead, they gave a simple order. You will disband the Galactic Council. Silence fell over the meeting. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. This is impossible, one of them said. The council has ruled for thousands of years. Not anymore, the human replied. Your rule ends today. The Chancellor's voice was cold. And if we refuse? The man smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we will make sure your people refuse for you. The Chancellor's heart sank. He already knew the truth. The people had already lost faith. Planets were rising in rebellion. Fleets were defecting. Trade was collapsing. The council was already dead. They just hadn't admitted it yet. But still, they hesitated. The Chancellor took a deep breath. If we surrender, what happens to us? The human's expression remained unreadable. You will live. You will step down peacefully. You will fade into history. A simple offer. A final chance. The Chancellor looked at his people. He saw fear in their eyes. He turned back to the human and gave a slow nod. It is done. The fall of the council. The surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council was no more. The news spread like wildfire. Across 1,000 worlds, people celebrated. Species that had been ruled by fear were now free. The galaxy had changed forever. And at the center of it all stood humanity, the survivors, the rebels, the ones who had refused to be erased. But they did not claim the council's throne. They did not become rulers. Instead, they sent one last message to the galaxy. We did not fight for power. We fought for freedom. The galaxy is yours now. Use it wisely. And just like that, they disappeared. The war was over. Humanity had won. But their greatest victory was not in battle. It was in proving that no empire, no ruler, no force in the universe could ever break the will of a united people. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Council was gone. For thousands of years, they had ruled with power and fear. They had controlled trade, law, and war. But now, their palaces were empty, their fleets scattered, and their influence erased. The galaxy was free. But freedom brought uncertainty. Who would lead now? Who would bring order? Would new rulers rise, or would chaos spread? And where was humanity? The silence of the victors. After their victory, the humans disappeared. No fleets occupied council space. No human leaders claimed power. They had won, but instead of ruling, they simply walked away. Many alien races were confused. Why don't they take control? Some asked. They have the power to shape the future. But others understood. They didn't fight for power. They'd fought for something greater. Still, their absence left a power vacuum. Without the council, the galaxy was fractured. Planets and factions rushed to fill the empty throne, and some feared a new war would begin. But humanity had already planned for this, a gift to the galaxy. Weeks after the council's fall, a signal was sent across the stars. It came from an unknown location, encoded with a simple message. To all free worlds, this is not the end. This is the beginning. Attached to the message was something extraordinary, a massive archive of knowledge created by humanity in secret. Inside it were detailed records of governance, economy, diplomacy, guidelines for building a fair and free galactic society. It was not a set of laws but a foundation, a blueprint for a future where no single empire controlled everything. It was a gift to the galaxy. And the most shocking part, it was signed by no one. There was no demand for recognition, no request for leadership, just knowledge. And one final line at the end. You must decide your own future. The struggle for unity. Even with humanity's guidance, the galaxy was still divided. Many planets wanted to rule themselves. Others feared new wars would come. Some even wished to rebuild the council in secret. But one thing had changed. The people had seen what was possible. For too long, they had believed power belonged to the strongest, that only massive fleets and grand rulers could bring peace. But now, they had witnessed something new. Humanity had defeated the greatest empire in history without becoming conquerors themselves. And that idea was more powerful than any warship. The first free worlds. It started small. On the planet, Jorva 6, the first independent government was formed, a council of elected leaders from different species. There was no single ruler, no supreme commander, just people working together. Soon, other planets followed. They connected through trade, through shared laws, through mutual defense, not by force, but by choice. A new kind of alliance was forming. Not an empire, not a council, something better. The search for humanity. As the galaxy rebuilt, one question remained. Where were the humans? They had vanished like ghosts. No fleets, no colonies, no homeworld. Rumors spread. They are watching from the shadows. They have left the galaxy entirely. They walk among us, hidden. No one knew the truth. But then, a traveler found something unexpected. A hidden world. In a distant, unexplored system, a scout ship detected strange activity on a barren moon. There was no official record of life there, yet signs of advanced technology were present. The traveler landed, expecting ruins or abandoned bases. Instead, they found a thriving colony. Humans were there, but not alone. Aliens of many species lived beside them, working together to build something new. It was not a kingdom, not a fortress, but a home. The traveler asked them why they had hidden. A human smiled and simply said, "Our fight is over. Now, we build." The legacy of humanity. The galaxy had changed forever. The council had fallen. The old ways were fading. And in the heart of this new era was an idea, one that could not be erased, one that no empire could destroy. The idea that freedom was worth fighting for. That even the smallest, weakest species could stand against the strongest. That true strength was not in conquest, but in unity. And as the stars shone over the reborn galaxy, one thing was clear. Humanity had won not by ruling, but by inspiring. And their legacy would never be forgotten. The old era was over. The Galactic Council, once the most powerful force in the universe, was now nothing more than history. The galaxy had entered a new age, an age of freedom, of uncertainty, of endless possibilities. But one question remained in everyone's mind. What happens next? A galaxy without a ruler. For centuries, the Council had ruled with absolute power. Now, without them, the galaxy had no single government, no supreme authority. At first, many feared chaos. Would planets fight for power? Would warlords rise? Would everything collapse into darkness? But instead, something incredible happened. New alliances formed, not through fear, but through cooperation. Worlds that had once been enemies came together, building trade routes, sharing knowledge, and creating their own laws. It was not perfect. Disputes still happened. Conflicts still arose. But this time, there was no single empire to decide everything. The people decided for themselves, the silent watchers. Even as the galaxy changed, one mystery remained. Where was humanity? They had won the greatest battle in history and then vanished. They had given the galaxy knowledge, hope, and a chance for freedom. But they did not claim any planets, nor did they try to rule. Some believed they had left the galaxy entirely. Others thought they were hiding, waiting in the shadows. And some whispered that they were still among them, unseen. But one thing was certain. Humanity's influence was everywhere. The way new alliances were formed, the way planets refused to bow to a single ruler, the way people fought for their own futures, all of it carried the mark of humanity's defiance. Even in absence, they had shaped the stars. A visitor from the shadows. One day, in a newly formed trade hub on the planet Vela, a mysterious figure arrived. He wore a simple cloak, blending into the crowd. His features were unremarkable, but there was something about him, a presence, a quiet confidence. He entered a small gathering of planetary leaders, where representatives from different species were discussing trade and security. One of the leaders, a cautious but wise alien named Orc, noticed the stranger and approached him. "Who are you?" Orc asked. The man smiled slightly. "Just a traveler." Orc narrowed his eyes. "A human traveler." The room fell silent. The stranger said nothing, but his smile did not fade. Orc leaned forward. "Why are you here?" The man looked around the room. Aliens of different worlds, different species, working together as equals. Finally, he spoke. To see if the galaxy kept its promise, the promise of freedom. The council had fallen, but its shadows still loomed. Would the people of the galaxy truly stand on their own? Or would they repeat history, creating a new empire just like the last? This was humanity's final test for the galaxy. Not a battle of weapons, but a battle of principles. The traveler observed the gathering, watching how different species debated, compromised, and worked toward solutions. There were disagreements, even arguments, but there was no fear, no tyranny, no oppression. This was not a perfect world, but it was a better one. And that was enough. The final message. Before leaving, the traveler left behind a small device, a simple communicator. When activated, it displayed a message, written in every major language of the galaxy. You do not need rulers to guide you. You do not need empires to protect you. You are strong enough to choose your own path. Stay united. Stay free. And if the darkness returns, we will be watching. There was no name, no signature, just a silent promise. And then, just as mysteriously as he had arrived, the traveler was gone. The legend of humanity. Years passed, then decades. The new alliances grew stronger. The galaxy evolved, with each species shaping its own future. But across the stars, humanity's name became a legend. Some called them the Silent Guardians, watching from the shadows, ensuring that no empire would ever rise again. Others believed they had left, exploring new frontiers beyond known space, seeking new challenges and mysteries. And some said they were still among them, hidden in plain sight, walking unnoticed through alien cities, quietly ensuring that the balance of power remained in the hands of the people. A future without chains. Whatever the truth was, one thing was clear. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. Not through conquest, not through fear, but through hope. They had fought, not for themselves, but for everyone. And when the battle was won, they had given the galaxy a gift more valuable than any empire: the right to choose its own destiny. And somewhere, among the countless stars, a hidden world existed, a home where humans and other free species lived side by side. They did not rule. They did not demand. They simply watched. And they waited, knowing that if darkness ever returned, humanity would rise again. The end.